And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see today on the Messages of Inspiration and Hope, it's probably brought to you by the good guys.
Uh-oh. He muted himself.
I was in the mic a little bit and almost got electrocuted. Talk about cheap thrill. That felt good. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
We're so glad that you're here with us today. The Message of Inspiration Hope is brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. I'd like to say that we're going to be giving you a free gift, a free 7-day gift for you to try the 6-minute webinar at zero cost. I'm talking about the full gamut of the 6-minute webinar at zero cost. We'll be sharing that with you in just a few minutes. But I'm joined today by two lovely ladies, Donna Kewanee. Say hi.
Hello.
Yes, Donna. And of course, my good friend, Tamra Blankenship. This is a bittersweet day for us. This is the last day she's going to be able to be with us because she needs to take some time off with her mother and father. And you're going to be in our hearts, girl. And we're going to be thinking about you in our thoughts and our prayers because we know when, it's time to spend time with mom and dad, especially when one of them is, suffering from a illness and all. Mm-hmm. But today, I'm very fortunate and blessed because both of these ladies know Frank Shankwitz. He's the creator, he's the co-founder, him and his wife, Kitty, of Make-A-Wish Foundation. And they're going to be, let me rephrase that, they are going to be sharing some things about his life because they knew Frank and Kitty. And it's a very interesting story, the trials and tribulations that he went through. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back right after this brief message about the 6-minute webinar, and I'm going to share with you that free gift. We'll be right back right after this brief message.
Hi, I'm Angel Marie Monticelli with Angel Marie Shines, and I had the pleasure, the honor to go through training for the 6-minute webinar. Oh my gosh, this webinar and how it's structured and how they teach it. Thank you, Speakers Pathway Coalition. Thank you, Don McGrath and the whole team for the 6-minute webinar because you made it so simple, easy. And the way you lined it out with the outline, I can reproduce it. And I'm already getting the engagement. I'm getting people that are coming back that are saying, oh, I love this webinar that's so short, so to the point, and I love your products and what I'm selling, but then what I'm also, the services that I provide, and I do any of this because I have the framework. So thank you so much to the whole team because the 6-minute webinar totally rocks. Thank you.
And right now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you that free gift. You get a free 7-day trial, no credit card needed. Just go for the 6-minute webinar. Just go to the website there, accb.me. That's A as in Alpha, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, B as in Bravo, .m as in Mike, E as in Echo. And you can try the 6-minute webinar for yourself. You can use your 6-minute webinar over and over again. It's our free gift to you. It's a free 7-day test drive. There's nothing to buy, and no one's going to put you on a list and send you 40 emails a week or anything like that. We don't play that game, and I know that Donna and Tamra both are very experienced in the value of the 6-minute webinar. So that's our gift to you. And it's appropriate for us to give you a tremendous gift like that, since this will be Tamra's last day with us. And, it's just, we're gonna miss giggles. That's for sure. We really see.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really are.
Buddy. Well, I'm super excited to be here with both of you today. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We're honored that you're able to be with us today because we didn't know if you were going to be able to make it or not. with
Right.
your schedule and all, but thank you so much for
Yeah.
fitting us into your schedule.
Thank you.
And like I said early on, and I keep jabbering, so I'm going to hush here in a minute, but like I said early on, the life and legacy of Frank Shankwitz, these two ladies know him much better. I don't even know him, okay? They do. So I'm gonna turn it over to Tamra first and let her say a few words and just let Donna and Tamra, carry on. So Tamra?
Yeah, I got the opportunity to meet Frank and Kitty when they were doing a red carpet event here in Phoenix, Arizona. So just an amazingly inspirational individual. I know Donna and I want to share with you a little bit about his past and some of his journey and why we see him to be such an amazing, inspirational person to relate to, and how we kind of feel connected to him through his own struggles, the things he's gone through. So Donna, would you like to say something else about?
I met Frank before the movie ever came out. So I met him, I want to say it was 2018 and maybe 17, but I think 18. And I was at an event where his book had just come out, Wishman. And so I was lucky enough to meet him there and then subsequently at another event. And I have his book and it's signed by him, which obviously I just treasure for the rest of my life. Frank was one of the most authentic, heartfelt people I've ever met. When he talked to you, didn't matter if he knew you or not, you got his entire attention and you always felt like he had known you and you had known him forever.
Yes, that's so accurate.
And it was very authentic. There was nothing inauthentic about Frank. Obviously his book or his life is an open book, really. And so there was nothing inauthentic about him. And Tamra, you're exactly right in how his life was so difficult growing up. But in those lessons, he brought forward and gave back even more because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. He is powerful. Why don't you share, Donna, you know so much about his history and his childhood. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about, some of his beginnings?
Absolutely. So he was born in March of 43 in Chicago, Illinois, and of course died in January 21 at his Mint Creek Ranch with his beloved wife, Kitty, at his side in Prescott, Arizona. So his folks divorced at 2 years of age, and his mother just left, gone. And he had a great childhood with his father, was surrounded growing up with his grandparents and cousins and stuff. And then in kindergarten at age 5, he's on the playground and this lady comes up and says, "Do you know who I am?" And he looks at her and says, "What?" And she said, "Well, I'm your mother and you're leaving." So she's pulling him off the playground and it is little kindergarten class. And he's kicking and screaming. And she actually thumped him so hard on the head that he just felt automatically like he had to shut up. And she said, "We're going to Arizona." So Arizona got put on hold for a bit. They bypassed on their way to Michigan, where they lived in a tent for a year. She went to work. He was left alone at 5 years of age with virtually no food. Then winter came on. She found a little farmhouse, very breezy, shall we put it that way, a very old farmhouse. And they lived there for another 5 years. And his father then found him and went to the local sheriff to have her arrested for kidnapping. And she threw what meager belongings they had, Tamra and Jim, into the car, and off they went to Arizona. And it took a long time to get there because she didn't have enough money, so that they would have to stop. She'd get a job, get some money from tips as a waitress, etc., for gas money, etc. And they finally got to Arizona and literally ran out of gas in oh gosh, I'm going to mess up the pronunciation of it. What is it, Tamra?
I can't remember the name of that. You just said it a minute ago.
Yeah.
I know. Sigmund.
I think Sigmund or Sigmund.
Sigmund, I believe Sigmund, Arizona. Anyway, so
I should look it up.
right. So they were totally stranded, no money, no food, no gas, and a rancher found him, and they lived in his place on the kitchen floor. That was their bedroom for about 6 weeks till they get on their feet. And he was excited about it because it was the first time since he'd been kidnapped by his mother that he was warm. So they found
Crazy.
right. So they found the gentleman found him a trailer. They kind of fixed it up. There was no indoor facilities, if you will. There was cold water, running water to it. But he went to work at the age of 10 as a dishwasher to help his mother pay the bills and have food. And so
Wow.
fast forward, he met a gentleman there named Juan, who became his mentor and his friend, taught him a father figure, if you will. It taught him many, many things, and then also taught him how to give back. At age 7th grade, Frank came home one day and his mother said, I can't afford you any longer. You're on your own, and left. Just left this child all by himself again.
Mm.
So he went to his friend Juan and said, what do I do? And he said, well, I've made arrangements. You're going to live with Widow Sanchez and you're going to pay $20 a week. You make $26 a week, Frank. You get, he said, well, I don't know what all this, I'm feeling helpless. And he said, well, there's a positive to everything. He said, for the first time in your life, you're going to have some pocket money. You'll have $6 a week to yourself. You've got indoor facilities to go to the bathroom. She's the best cook in town. You've got your own bedroom. She's the first one to have a TV. So he taught him these important lessons he carried over in life and about how to give back. And that was important to him. And he told Frank, he said, you need to learn to give back. And he said, well, how do I give back? And he said, well, geez, you don't have to have money, right? All you have to do is give of your time and your energy. And so he did. So 8th grade comes, guys, and his mom shows up back in town and said, I need your help. You need to move with me to Prescott, Arizona, because I need your help to live. And he was very upset by this and went to his friend. And his friend said, well, she's your mother. You always respect your mother. So he did. And that's how he came to be in Prescott. Finished high school, went into the Air Force for 5 years, got out, worked at Motorola, and then went into a 42-year career with the Arizona Highway Patrol as a motorcycle cop. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's, by the way, it's Sigilman. Oh, gosh, guys. I thought I had it in my head, and I guess it's wrong. It's the actual birthplace of Route 66 of all things,
right.
But it's pretty funny.
It's that little town that we can't pronounce.
Seligman, Sigilman, whatever.
Sigilman.
I'm gonna let it go.
Now, wait a minute, ladies. Wait a minute. I'm the guy that's got the patent on mispronouncing the words without any help. I got a patent on that. I've worked hard at that.
Well, here's the problem, Tamra. Obviously,
I can hear it in my head, but I can't say it out.
It's rubbing off, right?
Yes, that's so true, right?
Yeah. I'm the one that needs to leave. They need to stay here. That's what they're saying.
Still Eagman. I think it's something like that. It's terrible.
If anyone's out there watching, you know how to pronounce it.
Please
let
call
us
in.
know. Yeah.
So, it was interesting with Frank's journey, you guys. He went through obviously an incredibly rough childhood. Yes. And of course he was married, and then he had gotten a divorce. And when he'd gone shortly after, not too long after going into the Highway Patrol, he met his current wife. But what happened was in 2005, he was in Park, Arizona, and it was spring break. And so, of course, like spring break, the town blows up with a bunch of, high school, college kids, etc. Mm-hmm. And he was in a high-speed chase, chasing a drunk driver at 85 miles an hour. Now, of course, he was on his motorcycle. Well, everything was fine until another drunk driver literally pulled out in front of him. and there was nothing he could do. He hit him broadside head on, and he was actually pronounced dead on the scene.
Mm.
And an off-duty nurse was there and came running up and said, let me try to save him. And his partner said, he's dead. He's already gone. And she didn't listen to him and worked on him for like 4 or 5 minutes and finally got him resuscitated. And it took him the better part of a year to recover. He had brain injury. He had fractures. He had broken bones and a lot of skin missing. But here was what was really interesting about that. When he had to go back to work, of course, a psychologist has to evaluate you, make sure you have sound mind. And what she said to him was, and I quote this, God spared you for a reason. Now it's up to you to find that reason why you were spared.
I love that.
Right? 2 years later, he found his reason.
Wow.
Yeah. So inspirational.
It is. It is. And of course, we're talking about Make-A-Wish, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? So Tamra, you know a little bit about that story with the little boy, Chris, correct?
I do. It's kind of, if you guys ever get a chance to actually watch his movie, The Wishman, or read the book, of course, either one. It really is. It's just very powerful. I think the way the book, I have not read the book, so I can't speak to the book, but getting an opportunity to sit there and watch the movie and be a part of it. And it was really kind of neat to be with all the actors and all the people, because it was a red carpet event. It was very, you could see the desire to share the message and the story behind how the Make-A-Wish Foundation was even created. And it is a lot about this little boy who, I believe he was watching the Chips, wasn't that correct? The Chips episode that inspired. Yeah, he wanted to, he was dying. Was it leukemia? Did he have leukemia, the little boy?
It was leukemia.
Yeah. And so he was dying, and he had this one wish to sit on a motorcycle, to be a motorcycle police officer. So, and it was that opportunity. Now, I believe, if I'm correct about this, because it's been a couple of years since I saw the episode, it was a bonding experience that happened out of two people in a very traumatic phase. Frank was just starting to get back into work, and I don't even know if he was really officially working. I think he was just coming back, right? To kind of, Donna, do you remember in the story? Does it tell?
I believe he was on duty, but had, like you said, had just recently come back.
Yeah, like literally, and like maybe even just working the desk, getting back into the circuit of being back at work. And he had a little bit of, intrepidation, just like a little bit of stuff to work through about it. And this child, I think it was just so healthy for both of them to come in and support each other and come back to the why things happen for the way they do, and he was able to share with this little boy. And it was a beautiful story about how they, unveiled that through the movie. It was really impactful, and getting a chance to see how that whole thing was brought up. And it just sparked something inside of Frank to do something for children in this way. So the boy did pass.
Well, and it was beautiful, because all he wanted to do was be a motorcycle cop, right?
That was it.
Right. So Frank had pulled up on his motorcycle, and the little boy asked if he could sit on it. And Frank said, well, of course you can. Get on up here. And so they talked, and he said, if you're going to be a motorcycle policeman, he said, you have to pass your motorcycle driving test. So the little boy, his folks had bought him one of those little motorized motorcycle cars for little kids, and they set up a little a training course for him to pass his test, right? So they passed his test, and he made an official motorcycle cop for Arizona Highway Patrol.
They actually made a little suit for him, and they gave him a little badge. It was so precious.
They got him a suit, a little a custom-made little outfit, a uniform. I'm sorry, a uniform. And so when he went back to give him his wings, what they wear on their collar, as a motorcycle officer, he had slipped into a light coma, and his little uniform hung right beside his bed, and he had woke up briefly, and Frank had pinned his wings onto the collar of his uniform, and the little boy Chris woke up. And I'm probably going to get teary because it's such a beautiful story, and as a mom, you know, how can you not be touched by this? But the little boy looked at him and said, "Are those my wings?" And Frank's like, "Yeah." And then a couple hours later, you know, Frank had left. A couple hours later, Chris had died.
It's a beautiful story, because if you go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation website, which is right there on a screen, wish.org, and just about us, you can actually see the little 7-year-old boy in his official, he's the only child that was an official member of the Arizona Highway Patrol. And it's got a picture of him there and everything. And it was the seed that was planted.
Right.
To be able to give a multitude of children with, diseases and sicknesses and illnesses that, let them live their wish, the one thing that they would love to do or something. And what an amazing, amazing story. And that was the birth of it all. And what's really interesting, I find, is that none of it was planned.
No.
It just happened.
It was on the way back from the funeral. They buried Chris Greicius in, I believe it was Illinois. And on his tombstone, it said Chris Greicius, sorry folks, Arizona trooper. And on the way back on the flight, that's when Frank was writing down all these things, and that was the early birth of Make-A-Wish Foundation. So that was the incredible, inspiring story that started and has now helped over 500,000 children get a wish.
And you look at, I was just going to say, separate and apart from Frank's, the story and Make-A-Wish, but look at the series of events that took place. Frank had a mentor in his life when he was a little boy. And the mentor taught him important things about giving back.
Right.
And how you don't have to have money to give back. My goodness gracious, what a wonderful thing we should hear every day of our lives, especially when in this day and time, what does it take to pick up a phone and call somebody or send someone a message? Just a little thing like, just wanted you to know I was thinking of you today. Hope you're having a good day. And that might be the only good message or encouraging words they hear that day. And just think you could deliver them to that person, especially someone that's sick, especially someone that's ailing, especially someone that's hurting on the inside. And that's what really, and I just listen to you two ladies talk because you guys know him and know the story much better than I do. How this little boy walks up to this motorcycle cop. "Can I sit on your motorcycle?"
Yeah, sweet.
Oh,
and the crazy thing about the whole story is, it's one thing to have a vision or an idea. What I want to really express too is Frank and Kitty's perseverance, because they do share a little bit about the struggles of even getting the Make-A-Wish Foundation started. I mean, there was a lot of work that was around that. Obviously, there was not a lot of profit. There's obviously no profits in the beginning phases, but even getting word out about what they were trying to do and the support that they needed to get it done. Like they talked, I remember at the beginning, he shared with how hard it was to even get like Disney. You would think that Disney would be an easy match for something like this, but he even talked about like how many times he had to dial in to get even in a conversation with someone about what they did. And
Right.
I'm sure they get Disney. I'm sure a lot of these companies, no doubt, get unbelievable amount of solicitation. So I'm not bashing on the company in any way, shape, or form, but you do have to recognize that some of those struggles that, having a great vision or a great idea is only a small part to actually making something become a reality. And, the purpose or the drive that keeps you going. And what was that quote, Donna, you said earlier that I thought was just something I'd like to be kind of our coined phrase for this session?
Absolutely. That, with everything that Frank went through in his childhood, with a very dysfunctional, unloving mother, and he could have been either bitter or better, right? He chose to be better. Don't be bitter. And he just moved on from that.
I feel like so often there are always these opportunities that we can seize and take advantage of, but it's always in that mix of what the contrast shows up. I like calling it contrast because there's always this concept of right, wrong, good, or bad. But it really isn't right, wrong, good, or bad. It's whether it serves or supports you in a direction that helps you shine, or it grows and gains some momentum to it. And so I think of the word contrast because it's just what you want versus what you don't want usually.
Right.
And so I think that those are those opportunities that can become motivational or the rocket fuel that we need to get to something bigger and better in our lives. And, I think when you talk about a big organization like Make-A-Wish, it seems like it was all serendipitous or easy to have happen because they have the big name, and we can make up all kinds of excuses for why not to show up ourselves as powerfully. But really, he made a simple choice to be better, to either be bitter about the life story or do something about the life story you're having to show up better for others, for yourself. There's always a catalyst, right, for change. So really playing with that. And I know, Donna, you have a beautiful story around this yourself and the struggles you've gone through. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Well, thank you. I've already had 2 autoimmune diseases prior to this. And then about 8 years ago, I had to go and see a doctor and had been undergoing many, many tests, and found out I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that same day, right after that meeting, doctor appointment, I was going to see my neurosurgeon to schedule the first of 3 brain surgeries. And honestly, I was a single mom raising 3 teenagers. And, I was in a little bit of a funk. I'm not going to lie about that.
Sure.
I was a little depressed. Everything was coming at me so quickly, Tamra and Jim, that it was like, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this? And then there was the whole brain surgery factor where that's a little scary, right? So I did the first one, and the second one, of course, the first and the third one I was awake for. The second one was the main one where they went into my brain behind my right eye. And but after the third one, what happened was my body and my brain were really tired, and it left me with the inability to speak a full sentence for almost 2 years. Now, both of you know me, and I'm not at a loss for words, right?
No.
So it was
the beauty of her.
It was so difficult. And then it really got me down and a little depressed, guys, because I wasn't even able to show up properly. I felt for my teenage children who needed me in guidance because I couldn't use the words. And it was that at that moment, I decided, when I could not help my children because I couldn't verbalize, it was time to decide whether I was going to be bitter or I was going to be better. And I dove in and did research for about a year. And that's how high energy performance coaching came about, in changing your paradigms, your energy, and identifying the bitter, if you will, that's causing you and dragging you down.
Yes. I also
And
want to
Tamra,
highlight something that I think we don't give ourselves permission for, is grief in the process of discovery. A lot of the times we think we just need to suck it up and get over it and move on and do something about it. But there's actually a grieving process that goes on from this belief that we are healthy to there's challenges or opportunities for us to learn about this beautiful vessel we get to live in, right? And that transference, or that change from knowing that I'm healthy to not knowing, there's a grieving process that most people just, and I'm going through this with my parents a little bit right now. We are in limbo phase. And, I think a lot of the times we just feel like it's lack of knowing that creates that sense of intensity and that insecurity and the inability to like anticipate change, right? And know how to, like, when you're like, okay, well, these are the steps I'll take, or it's in the doctor's hands, or it's in God's hands. A lot of that stuff that we say to make it easier for us. When you're in limbo, you just feel free fall. You just feel lack of connection and understanding the purpose.
You. Yeah, there's nothing holding you, and so you end up being scared and, like you said, in limbo.
Yeah, it's been bless my dad's heart right now. He's doing a deep scan today. They're doing a full body scan, and even just knowing that they're doing something like that, looking so microscopically close is intimidating. It's a scary process, right? So, I think that we make small of things because of the discomfort, but sometimes it's like, I love this saying. I remember this from Tibetan study. You come in with breath and you leave with breath. It's the first thing you do to start life. It's the last thing you do to end life in this human experience. But if we track breath, like when we get nervous or anxious and how we hold our breath, or, just recognize that's what gives us the opportunity to start controlling and that anxiety and that fear and that the uncertainty. So going back to practices of mindfulness and grounding yourself, which is exactly what you did when you said it's about either getting busy being bitter or getting busy being better. Right. It's taking one baby step and allowing yourself to grieve so that you can get into the next transition. And it's so beautiful when you step into that space, because it evolves, it transfers. So,
and we all have those stories. Tamra, I know that you have your own story with that, right? And the beautiful thing is that I look at you, Tamra, and you're better. There's no bitter, right? We have to learn from the bitter and what is in our path, right? We can't deny it. So let's learn from it. And that's exactly what Frank did as well, right? He learned from it and he gave more. Tamra, I've known you for almost as long as I've been back in Arizona. And you have this humongous heart. You are just
thank you.
This beautiful woman with this big, gorgeous heart who just gives, right? But again, you chose that same path. And it's okay. I've always said, and I say this to my clients, and I'm sure Tamra, you do too, and Jim, we've talked about this. It's okay to live in that space for a moment, to really fully ingest it and comprehend it and understand it. But it's okay to stay there, but you cannot live there indefinitely.
Yeah.
It's
the actual contrast, right? You need that opportunity. Sorry, Jim, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You need that opportunity to feel what you don't want to figure out what you want, right? So I almost feel like sometimes pain shows up to help us remember that life is a choice.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I like what Bill Heinrich says. He said something that really stuck with me. He says, no matter what you're going through right now, no matter where you're at, it is the perfect place for you. Accept it, love yourself, and understand. I may be here right now, but I'm not going to be here a month from now, 6 weeks from now, 2 months, because this is just a stop on my pathway of life as I go forward. And I really like that, because that's so true. I think everybody can point to, a place where they've been, where it's been very hard for them, and tragic events, loss of loved ones and things like that. And it's tough, but that's not where you're going to stay. It's part of your journey.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I've heard Donna's story about the having the 3 surgeries and all. And I've never said this before on the air, but I've just, every time she talks about the first and the third one, she was awake for. And I got to think.
Talk about a warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, a warrior.
Yeah. I mean, that would be enough to make my toenails grow right through the bed sheets. But my point being is that par for the course, my dumb luck, when I'm in a hospital, I either do something stupid or show that I'm not real bright when it comes to patients being in a hospital. But my luck, I'd probably be laying there, and if they were performing it on me and I'm awake, I'd probably hear the doctor say, hey, give me a flashlight. You see anything yet? No. I'm like, well, or I might say, whoops, uh-oh. I dropped something in there. I think it went down his neck. But I mean, that's just, I don't know. When I'm in a hospital, ladies and gentlemen, my mind takes me on a field trip. And I'll just make this one comment because I want to get to Tamra's story here. I remember I had knee surgery in 1986. It was arthroscopic. And so I wake up, I'm back in the recovery room. It was an outpatient kind of a deal. And I thought, wow, I want to look at my legs. So it's on my left knee. So I pull back the cover from the right side and my right leg's all wrapped up. And just 1 week before I had surgery, I heard about this poor guy going down into Florida and they took off the wrong leg. And I'm thinking, and my bird brain tells me, hey, moron, wrong knee. And the nurse came in, she says, you're not supposed to be awake yet. And she says, let's look at your bandage. And here's my left leg from just right below my hip, all the way down to my ankle. Nice, beautiful bandage. And now I'm trying to put 2 and 2 together. I said, well, why's my right leg, wrapped up like this? She says, that's so they can, it's in a sheet, that's so they can lift you and put you on the table and off the table. Like
That
moron.
is hilarious.
Yeah, but see,
awesome.
I was,
That's an awesome story.
Yeah, I'm laying there in an air-conditioned room, and I'm sweating like a pig on the fire thinking, oh, my gosh, they did the wrong knee, I mean, that's the way my brain works, and I'm not exaggerating about that. But,
Awesome.
because, Tamra, your story, my goodness gracious, you're just like Donna has. She has taken what she went through. She created a course. And I love her email address. I'll put it up there real quickly, if I may, if I can find it here. Let's see, here it is. Let's see, that's Donna's website there. Here's her email. High energy right now, because if you're frustrated and you're needing some good energy, you need it right now. And I like it. That's short, sweet, and to the point. High energy right now. But now, I'd like for you to share, Tamra, if you would, please. Why did you create TamraBlanketShip.com?
So I was actually assaulted at the age of 5. So part of my journey was feeling like I didn't fit in, didn't belong. Like I know so many of us talk about. I think there are just as many women as men who feel that, that lost feeling. And I went through that struggle of feeling like I belonged or I could connect to anyone until I was about 32 years old. When I was a long journey. And just trying to have a voice with people and navigate some of the struggles. There's a lot of little lessons along the way, obviously, and I'm kind of like zipping through. But the main point was for me to help to have these experiences, to learn how to discover how to be neutral in conflict, how to overcome some of those struggles and the defeating talk that we have internally. Matter of fact, actually, something just happened yesterday that reminded me of those lessons, where we deeply go into a belief when somebody projects onto us an experience, and how we quickly identify with those limiting beliefs, and we start to like check to see if they still fit. You run around trying to go, okay, yeah, I still am stupid, or I'm still not, not enough, or whatever those stories are. And those limiting beliefs or restrictions from showing up and being the best version of yourself is where we block ourselves from having a voice with others or ourselves. And so what I love doing is helping people recognize when they're in those moments, when they're in those conflicting, out of alignment, sense of center or sense of self. Why do we do it to ourselves? How can we show up differently or better and not like take ownership of somebody else's projections, thoughts, or judgments of us and do something different with that information? Really filter through it, recognize, well, is this who I am or is it not? Within such a fast moment where we can release and let go of those judgments of others. So I love helping people find a voice in conflict. I like helping them find a new way to communicate and share their thoughts without tricking each other or tripping each other into a, she's right, I'm wrong, or he's right and he's wrong, whatever, conflict in business or personal, and doing something really that's more collaborative and cohesive where we get a chance to support each other. And I do this by helping people understand behavior and really understanding our personal, like our own self-sabotaging trips, like what they call them, either you can call them shadows or backup behaviors or whatever. Just these stories that we put us into our defensive behaviors and how to navigate it differently. So it's been a very powerful opportunity to get a chance to share it in the corporate world. And I love doing it with people who are navigating relationships and, but really it all inevitably is an internal story and how we are showing up. And so what I learned from me going back to the concept about bitter or better, is I could have played the story of being a person who was sexually assaulted and stayed in the story of not being wanted or needing the ability to feel safe in a relationship. Or I can turn it into something better and learn to communicate and learn to embrace it. And the way I did this is I started saying to myself, as I experienced sexual assault, why? Why did I experience it? What was the opportunity? And so I play with that, and I realized that because someone else took a voice of another doesn't mean I have to live that the rest of my life. And that I have an opportunity to show up and support others who've had that same feeling of disconnection and loss in relationships or in their own sexual assault or eating disorders, or there's so many areas where we play this out, but getting a chance to really find our way back and really, how to be all of you in every moment. So
what I really like about what I'm hearing here on the show, we talk about Frank and Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I mean, the phrase that Donna came up with was just brilliant. Rather than be bitter, you're going to be better. And, you heard Donna's story and you've heard Tamra's story. And look how, Frank and Donna and Tamra, they're all on the same wavelength. No matter, what type of a childhood they had or what they went through personally in their lives, what they experienced, it did not define them and it did not enslave them. And in fact, it inspired them to become better and not be bitter. And that's the challenge for you. And that's the message out there for you folks out there. How can you reach out and be a mentor to someone? Maybe, a little kid or maybe a young person. How can you help and be a blessing to someone that maybe someone that's elderly and can no longer drive? I mean, just call them up and ask them, say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. Do you need anything? Would you like to go? I mean, just little things like that, because my goodness gracious, think what a blessing you'd be. And I just tip my hat to both of you. And, Tamra and Donna, I tell you right now, we're all family here. And we're all family, and we're all, I love you, and I know you guys love me. You do, don't you?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, but really, that's what we do here. Yeah, that's what we do here. We're family. We help one another. We stick together, and because in this world, you can't make it by yourself. We're social creatures. We need someone that likes us and loves us, appreciates us, and respects us.
Right.
And in my case, overlooks your guy mind, okay? The things that you do that you go like, what were you thinking? As my dad used to say when I was growing up, son, exactly when did that seem like a good idea to you?
I love that statement. I love that statement.
I heard a lot growing up, And of course, another one of his famous statements, and you've heard, is that he said, I don't know about that, son. That looks like to me a good way to skin your ignorance.
Right.
And we did that too. But
I would
go
like
ahead.
to interject real quick. And Tamra, what I love about you and what you do, your big heart, how you give back, but it took a while, but you didn't lay down and stay down and play victim. And to me, from an energy point of view, that is just beyond huge. And now you teach other people how not to be a victim, first and foremost in their mind, right? First and
Absolutely.
foremost in their
Absolutely.
mind. Those sayings that we say to ourselves, and that is, and I know you can agree with me 1,000%, because even though we do things a little differently in our coaching businesses, there's a lot of similarities, right?
Absolutely.
But one of the things that we notice is how much people talk down to themselves in here.
Yes.
Right?
I always say 10 times louder inside than we do outside. It's fascinating. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it resonates more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when people say things, it hits us so deeply, right?
Right. And so I just love that you, are not only not a victim, but you teach people how not to be a victim to themselves, let alone themselves first, on the circumstances that brought them there.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yeah.
And the thing I love too about what Tamra shares, and it comes to my mind every time I hear her talk about that, is that when two people are arguing, both of them are not trying to solve the problem that created the argument. They're trying to win their side of the argument.
Yes.
And there was a young man I talked to, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 5, whatever. And he's 27 years of age. And he asked me, he says, Jim, he says, sometimes my wife's upset and I want to ask her what's going on and she don't want to talk to me. I said, well, let me tell you something. Number one, give her space. She maybe is wanting to cool off a little bit. What's got her upset may have nothing to do with you. And you pestering her, she might pick up a hoe handle or something and smack you upside the head. But my point being is that leave her alone. If it concerns you, she'll let you know when she's cooled off and wants to talk to you. If it doesn't concern you, she may never say anything. And he says, I'd still like to know. And I says, don't go there. If it doesn't concern you, that means it's none of your business. And I said, everybody needs their space every now and then. You really do. And on that little banner down there, where you see get your free 7-day trial of the 6-minute webinar, just go to that website. All you got to do is just type in accb.e. That's A as in Alpha, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, B as in Bravo, .m as in Mike, E as in Echo. And you get a free 7-day. You don't need a credit card. They're not going to follow up and try to sell you something. But you can experience the 7-day, for 7 days, the 6-minute webinar. You can test drive it. This has been a live recording of the advertisement for the 6-minute webinar.
I know, you had it down.
I got to get these ladies laughing a little bit. I'm normally kidding around with them. Yeah.
So cute. Thank you so much for thank you from the bottom of my heart to be seen like that. It's just such a beautiful thing. And I appreciate you recognizing, the desire. And Donna, one thing that I love about Donna and Jim too, you guys are both always so high energy, so excited for the love of life. And it's why I love coming into this space. It's to not only spend time with both of you, but just, gleaming some of that energy and celebrating the beauty that you both have. So I am so excited that I got to spend time with both of you today and just really, I'm super grateful. So thank you for that.
We're honored to have you here because you have you've met Kitty and of course Frank when he was alive, and that was very valuable to the audience. And what I love too about this show is that the energy that we feel, because we know now that we're seen on Roku, Amazon Fire, we're 58% of the audience is ladies. And we have that same percentage on our radio show. And Bill Heinrich, who helps me with the radio show, he asked me, he says, how come we're 58% ladies? I said, well, Bill, that's because you're such a cute little booger. And you girls know Bill, you can imagine how he comes.
So cute.
Because most time he's real serious, minded.
Very
and
stoic man.
yeah, he's got to put up with me, I call him the dean of the 6-minute webinar on the airways. But most importantly, being with you girls here, my goodness, you girls make the show. Especially this show here with all of your insight and your knowledge. And what I love is, as I sit back and just listen to you, how you and the three of you, I'm talking about Frank and Donna and Tamra, how they were able to pick up the pieces and change people's lives. And when you think about that, that is a tremendous honor.
It is.
A tremendous blessing.
Yeah.
Because that means you went through
calling.
because, it's like sterling silver, you want to be pure silver. Well, pure silver can't be molded in anything, but sterling silver can. And the reason why the sterling silver is so desirable is that for the silversmith to make sterling silver, he has to use fire. And what the fire does, it actually removes the impurities. And of course, he adds an alloy in there too, but it removes the impurities in the original silver. It's referred to as DOS. So when you go through the fires of life, you're going to get all this DOS and all this stuff that you really don't need in your life, literally burned out of you.
True. So true.
And then you're going to be left with sterling silver. And that's how you can use your gifts and your talents. Because in Frank's case, he used his gifts and talents that he was taught by a mentor to be a huge blessing to a little boy. And that ignited a fire. And I think it's now over 500,000 kids.
Yes.
And they're international now. And think of all the struggles he went through, Hello, my name is Frank. I got this Make-A-Wish Foundation. Well, good luck with that.
Right.
He didn't let nose and pushing a chain uphill stop him. And both of you ladies, you've walked through the fires of life and you've battled your demons. And we know that Donna's got a dragon at her gate.
Yes, I do.
That's true story, yeah. And I sent you I did not see it. I sent you the handprint. You saw the star, didn't you?
Yeah.
I got a star in my hand. Yeah.
How fun is that?
Yeah. And Dr. Beloved told me that's his Midas touch.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I go to the store, I look at it and I touch stuff. But seriously, I did not realize that. And really, I really don't see it. But on that, when I put that that black stuff on my hand to make a handprint, that thing popped right out there.
Mm-hmm.
It sure did.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And because all of us have gifts and talents, but
Oh, yes.
with that gift and talent comes a warning. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes.
And there's
Think
a
about that.
responsibility.
Yes.
There's a big
I was about to say that, yeah.
with each one of our gifts and talents in this world, no matter what it is, big, small, medium, it doesn't matter. There's a responsibility. And one of those, in my world, the biggest responsibility is do no harm and just do more, give more, and be better and help the world be a better place and unite.
As you're saying that, I think of Mother Nature. And I always like to reflect on Mother Nature for symbolism, to see some of that unity. And you always think of like these little cute little ants. Some don't like ants, I get it. But how they work together to create a community that supports. It's not about the one individual ant, it's the community. And so we all have a responsibility. We're all worker bees, worker ants, whatever you want to say, focusing on a goal of hopefully making everyone's life better, more at ease, more peaceful, more joyful, and what you do every day, if it's just a simple smile on your face as you leave the home to spread joy, to getting out of the way to allow somebody to do what they have to do, whatever that is, whatever small or large step you take, just show up, right?
Right.
It's kind of like a big orchestra. If everybody just played the trombone, that'd be kind of boring, wouldn't it? And just be all noise. You think about that. Everybody's got their own gifts and talents, and to be able to contribute and be an active member, just like a baseball team, and not everybody can be a pitcher. Not everybody can be an outfielder. Very few people can be a catcher. Think about that. That's a tough job. Squatting down all the time, 100-mile-an-hour baseball coming at you. You better focus and pay attention. Otherwise, that thing will ring your bell,
Otherwise, it focuses on you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You'll be on the 6 p.m. news being carried off the field, But seriously, everybody has a specific talent. Some baseball players who are in the infield, they may be able to play second base or maybe not first base, but usually third base and first base were interchangeable. But shortstop, that's a different breed of cat right there. Mm-hmm. You got to have a lot more agility to you, quickness, and all that. And I'm using the physical to illustrate the mental.
Right.
And the mental capacity that you have. The only place you have any limits is inside the canyons of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got a lot of cobwebs up there, where a lot of junk's been collected, you need to clean out. You need to clean out your attic.
Clear out those judgments because they're not doing you any good.
That's right.
It is. And one of the things that I found personally in my own life, and then of course with my clients, is understanding, and Tamra, you touched on this earlier, and I didn't really get to talk into it, but I love how you talk about finding out what it resonates for you, what serves you and what doesn't serve you, right? And that is everything from what you tell yourself, what you feed your body, your environment, who you hang around. I mean, it is all of it. It encompasses everything. And if it doesn't serve you, it's time to let it go. And it's going to feel uncomfortable for a little bit because it's like having that old friend right there, right? Your old slippers that you just don't want to get rid of. But once you do, and you break that connection, that is what allows you to grow.
Right. Absolutely.
It's amazing when you said that, because what come to my mind back when I was in my 30s, you think I'm 72 now. So back in my 30s, I thought a lot differently. And I remember one time I bought this paint sprayer. I was going to do some painting and all that. And I never could get that thing to work right. Took it back 2 or 3 times. And finally, my wife, this is a true story. I hate to admit that this is true. This is just shows you how smart I am. I'm out there in the garage. I got a ball peen hammer and I'm beating this thing into like I'm going to make a new product. And my wife asked me, she says, "What are you doing?" I looked at her, honest to goodness. I'll tell you the truth. I looked at her and I says, "I'm enjoying myself, so leave me alone." I mean, and that thing only had one use. That thing only had one use when I got done for it. And that was the recycle center. That was the only thing it was good for. But I took my frustrations out on that thing. And now I look back and I thought, well, why don't you just donate it to somebody and let them enjoy it? They might have been bored to death. So thank you for giving me that piece of trash. I mean, that thing like to drove me
one man's trash, another man's treasure, right?
That's right. Yeah. But I figured, no, I'm too much of a good friend to give that piece of junk to somebody else. I'm just going to take a ball peen hammer and beat the tar out of it and throw it away. And I'm just glad we don't have a movie of that, because
not one of your finer moments, huh?
Yeah. Definitely not one of my finer moments. Yeah. Right. Like I tell people, that was back when I was young, dumb, and good looking. And I was young once. I'm not making that up. I'm telling you the truth there. But ladies and gentlemen, we've had a wonderful time, and we've really enjoyed having Tamra with us. And, come back anytime, Tamra. My goodness gracious. You're part of our family. We love you. We appreciate you and all those things. And, Donna, you and Tamra just put on a tremendous show today. Thank you so much for your association of knowing Frank and meeting him and his wife, Kitty, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, sharing about his life stories, the struggles that he overcame, He chose to be a better person rather than a bitter person. And I saw that resonate in both of your stories. And it's just an honor for me to be here today with both of you. Thank you so very, very, very much. And ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone, but thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and go to the aacb.me for a free 7-day trial of the 6-minute webinar. If you know someone that might be interested in that, please share it with them. On behalf of Tamra Blankenship and Donna Kewanee, I'm just so glad that you joined in today to listen to these two lovely, beautiful, intelligent ladies that had to put up with me. But most importantly, we thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to love yourself, love others. And the theme for this show is don't be bitter, be better. Have a wonderful weekend. Bless you. Take care. Keep it under 100 in between the ditches. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.